What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I wanted to talk about this absolutely beautiful succulent. This is called as Cotyledon Orbiculata Variegated long leaf form. I know it's a very long name. Now there are different varieties in this particular species. This is the long form. You have the regular one which is more chubby. I think I will have to reduce the brightness of the phone a little bit because it's quite bright. Now here we go, you can see it looks absolutely stunning. Now this is the variegated version because you will be able to see there is a slight yellow tips on this succulent. It tends to look like the succulent has been overwatered, but this is the variegation on this particular variety. Now, of course, this variety is not a very common variety that you will find. Also, it's not very rare, but it's just that it is not sold very commonly. So this one is the Orbiculata variegated long leaf form. You have other cultivars as well. Cotyledon is the genus of the succulent and Orbiculata is the species, and there are a couple of different varieties under the species of Orbiculata. There are some cultivars as well. Now it's an absolutely beautiful succulent. It has a lot of farina on it. I had got this almost a year and a half back. It only had 3 leaves, but now I can see that it has done quite well, but little bit slow on growth. So let's start off with the soil mix. Again, it remains the same. Every other succulent, they prefer loose, porous and well-draining soil mix, which is lean in nutrients and tends to dry out fast. So here I have used 80% of aquarium sand and 20% of garden soil. Watering again remains the same. Whenever the soil is completely bone dry, you can wait for a couple of days because they do have chubby leaves. So you can wait for a couple of days and then you can go ahead and do a complete watering until the water starts passing through the drain hole. Please do not do a little bit of watering or do not do half watering. That is not how it wants to work, because then the succulent will start to get dehydrated. Now talking about sunlight, as I said, they do have a good amount of farina, so they will do well in morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours or even for 6 to 7 hours. Mine tends to get around 6 to 7 hours of direct sunlight. After acclimation, of course, never put out your succulents without acclimating them, otherwise they will get burnt. Even if the succulent has a decent amount of farina, it's always better to acclimate your succulent before putting them out in direct sunlight. Fertilizers, as usual, I do not use any fertilizers, but if you want to use, you can go with a very weak strength of any fertilizer during the growing season, which is during the winters. Summer is their dormant period. Propagation is very simple. These plants tend to grow like a tree, like a mini tree, like they will tend to put out a lot of branches. Mine is very small, so of course the branches are not going to be visible now, but as and when it starts to grow, they kind of put out those branches and you can definitely do a cutting and put them into the soil. But the rule remains the same. Before you put it into the soil, ensure you let the cut part callus. Do not water until and unless you tend to see roots. Only when the roots are visible, that is when you go ahead and do a watering. Now, pest issues, I haven't seen any issues with pest. The plant is quite pest resilient, but it's always better to do a routine check once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks. So overall, I felt like this succulent is quite easy, but it is quite slow growing. I feel all of the species of Orbiculatas tend to grow very slow. You have to just be a little bit mindful that you do not add in too much of fertilizers, otherwise that will damage the plant. The growth has nothing to do with fertilizers. A lot of people think that if you're going to add too much of fertilizers, the succulent is going to grow fast. In general, all the succulents tend to grow at a very slow pace, so we have to be extremely careful. Also, as we all know, succulents tend to go dormant in one of the season, so again that tends to slow down their growth. So it's nothing related with you are not providing any kind of fertilizers, or probably there is not much fertilizers or nutrients in the soil. This is how they tend to grow in their natural habitat. They have very poor nutrient soil, very less access towards water. So all of these things have to be kept in mind when we tend to grow succulents, because we want to replicate a very similar environment as in where they tend to grow. We can try our best. We cannot replicate exactly the same kind of environment, but we can try to give it as much as possible. So that's why I tend to use a very sandy soil mix, which is loose, porous, well draining, low in nutrients, and an ample amount of sunlight with a good amount of air circulation. And the plant tends to do quite well. Most of my succulents have a very similar condition. They are in morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, the brightly colored succulents, and they have been doing quite well. So that's about it, guys. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep planting.